Well, welcome, colleagues. Thank you very much for your time and attention. As always, we promised a 30-minute teleconference. It might be a bit unnerving to see how fast we march through all this, but we always hope the outcome after 30 minutes is at least an agenda item, ideally coupled with data that's placed on a technical committee agenda. But of course, that's not always possible. Sometimes ideas have to gestate for a while, and that's probably the case with today's topic, where we'll be focusing principally on the drinking water standards. And we have the pleasure and the privilege of having one of our experts from NSF International on the call today. Monica, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Monica Leslie. I'm the Secretariat for the several of the drinking water joint committees, which is our consensus body for our drinking water standards, drinking water additives, system components, which oversees Standard 61, and the Standard 372, which is the low lead procedures, and then our drinking water treatment units, and drinking water additives treatment chemicals as well.
So, Monica, I'm not sure if you would like to, but while we're talking, if you want to call up a part of your screen you're comfortable with discussing this, just let me know. We'll cut over to your screen. But before we do that, Alan, I'm with Alan every other week. He's a faithful guy, and he and I managed to keep up this communication link fairly strong. Alan, do you want to say something a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Alan Rose, and like Monica, I'm the Secretariat for various joint committees at NSF. The ones that we typically talk about here when Mike and I get together are, well, it's primarily been biosafety. There's been a couple of discussions about food safety, but mostly it's biosafety cabinetry, and that is Standard 49.
Okay. So for our audience, you have access to this website. You actually have access to this whole agenda, and if you're interested, simply email me. I can give you a robust link. This is Google Sites here. Very often it's very hard for you to key this in, so if I send it to you, there will be another place where it's we have a cleaner URL, and you can come to this location and you'll see many of the issues very shortly that we're discussing here on that website. So it's a little bit easier to get to that one. So, okay, so the question has to do, today's discussion is largely the drinking water standard and the claim by the Plumbing Contractors of America that this new low lead pipe valves, fittings, etc. will cost 20% more for the components. And their experience is then more labor will be involved, higher training levels, and I guess particularly silicon's involved. The material is harder in these components and they're more difficult to solder. I'm not sure if you get into the nuts and bolts of that at all, Monica or Alan?
I mean, the committee does. As far as the, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, I've lost my screen there.
Are you able to call up the 61
okay.
screen? Do you have the 61 screen there?
With the Standard 61 website.
Right. Do you have that? It might be worth them seeing.
How do I do that on here, though? I'm looking to see.
Well, the other thing I can do, I can do it right here. Here's your list of standards.
I'm sorry, I'm not actually familiar with this particular format interface on how to share my screen. Oh wait, here's an option.
We're patient. Find it. Alan and I will maybe move ahead. You get it ready, and I can cut over to your screen where you're more comfortable. There actually is something down here. I kept some of the material that's relevant to this, and I believe that one of the we began to. Here's a cut sheet that tends to want to describe the whole regulation. Maybe that'll help others to see what we're talking about here. If I can get it up, there we go. So we heard about this late. My work group tries to watch to see what concepts are out there that affect our industry, and we were working on other issues. I'm not really sure, had we been able to follow this, if we would have had any influence over its outcomes. Clearly, we're spending $300 billion on facilities, and I'll say 40% is mechanical construction and maintenance, so there's $120 billion, and then maybe the piping of a system of a building is something on the order of maybe 10%. So maybe say $10 to $20 billion is at stake for us with this regulation. And so here is the Plumbing Contractors of America telling us what the effect is going to be. Some of them are rather ambivalent. They understand that this will cost their customers more. They're concerned about that. And of course, it is an opportunity also, for making money. And so they're trying to be responsible with this cut sheet. So they're helping educate their customers here, which is a good thing. So are you able to, is there anything on your screen that you'd like us to see?
No, but perhaps I could just give a little bit of the background, like a little, like a brief background on how, I don't know if that's what you're interested in
Sure.
or not, of how this came to be in the standard.
Perfect.
First,
go ahead.
Standard 61 and then 372. Originally, well, first of all, let me just explain what 372, Standard 372, is basically it's the procedure for evaluating the average lead content about for products. It originally was under an annex under Standard 61, Annex G, and it was in there for over 3 years. It was put in there actually back in 2008 into Standard 61 as a result of the individual state regulatory requirements being promulgated, and that limited the amount of lead contained. So this was added into 61, and it was just the procedure for evaluating the lead content in these products. It was determined, though, by the committee that, and approved back in 2010, that 372 should exist as like a standalone standard, and they pulled it out of 61 for a couple of different reasons. They expected that 372 might be useful for products that may not necessarily fall under the scope of 61. You know what I mean? That may not be alignment with that, and so it just provided greater flexibility, in its application. And because 61 and 372 are implemented in different ways, they've been adopted by almost all of the states. I think there's still a couple that have not adopted these. But it can vary from state to state and how that is, and it happens, and it allows individual jurisdictions to maybe have requirements for 372, but not necessarily all of 61, maybe just parts of 61. That's just the general idea of why that was put out as a separate standard.
So when you say that they've been adopted by states, that means they've been incorporated by reference into a plumbing code?
Correct. Adopted into law by individual states that they're, for instance, state of California, like for instance, their water utilities, and public water supplies must use products certified to Standard 61.
Okay, sure. Well,
but you know what I mean. The way in which it's I can't speak to every individual state and the implementation and the laws, but they have been adopted by most of the states.
Okay. Well, yeah, our understanding is that this concept was tracking early in California, as typical for the pattern out there, and that then this was broadened elsewhere. So I guess they were the alpha or beta site for this. And one consideration, so we know it becomes part of the law by reference. It becomes a referenced product and installation standard into the code, and the code becomes part of the law. So one of the so you'll see actually some thought about that from our contractors. So I think what they were trying to say here was that, at least in the state of Michigan, there doesn't appear to be any enforcement authority at the moment.
Okay. And see, I'm sorry, I can't speak to that. There might be someone else I can defer to at NSF that is in, you know what I mean, that from our business unit and our on the technical side, and implement, our certification program, that is more familiar with even at the various state levels and even locally in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, I don't doubt that the NSF suite is a very well understood and respected suite, that the integrity of your organization usually is without question, and no, certainly I don't see any specific problems with the way the standard was developed. As always, we're looking for openings where we think we can rationalize some of our risk. One of the issues that had come up was that there may well be some expansion of this. The document, the standard as I understand it, deals with water which is only potable, but there's some, I guess there was some hint here that the expansion, so while new federal law mimics the California legislation, the key wording could greatly expand the scope of the federal rule. We probably should have started this out by saying that NSF is a privately developed standard, but that the federal government preempted or superseded whatever the agency that deals with safe water. I believe it's EPA, or is it OSHA? Who's the organization?
EPA. EPA.
Right. Okay.
Well, I mean, Standard 61 is not right. This is a voluntary standard for evaluating products. It references the Safe Drinking Water Act, but it is not a compliant. You know what I mean? This is not a regulatory document. This is just Standard 61 is the standard for evaluating products.
Right.
And one of the criteria is, and it does reference in here, where the products, where the Safe Drinking Water Act, the low lead law applies. But it doesn't dictate what applies to that.
Well, that's right. And farther down the agenda here, you'll see me ask a larger question about the degree to which federal agencies, whether they're executive branch or legislative branch, would be preempting privately developed standards such as yours to be incorporated by reference into public law. There's a larger dispute about how that's done. I think at some point here, I do have a place and possibly even a presentation about how we have divergences in how the ideals of the American standards development process confront or work with or convene with or conform to the strategic objectives of the federal government agencies. So that's not our discussion today, however, but it's underlying it. So one particular area here, though, is one, even though we were unable to put in comments, if comments were to even been of any help, if this particular requirement was going to happen anyway, we might have been only one of 1,000 commenters to say this risk is out of proportion to some of the other risks we face. But one area here that we've been asked to look out for is that the definition of potable water. And if you look deep in the language, maybe it's not a garden hose or a shower or a toilet, but if it's possible that you get, I know as a boy, when I played baseball, I could go up to any stranger's garden hose and drink water from it. And I don't think that's done anymore. And so the possibility that you would extend this legislation to all piping, because it might be possible that somebody would be drinking something from water from an industrial process, for example. You know, suppose you're washing yarn. Somebody wants to get some water. You know, this, when you convey this out into some of the processes, industrial processes, and the use of water there, now it gets really pricey. We don't particularly have that. We don't have that. We don't have anybody in the hospital. I actually invited somebody from the American Society of Healthcare Engineers to this call, but we're trying to be mindful of how the application of this law might expand, and this might not, even this might not be something that NSF has any control over. Am I mistaken? If your standard 61 is just one where you provide a benchmark for measuring that.
That's correct. Well, we're not determining what would have to meet the requirement, and what the definition of, you know, what would be considered for potable water use. I mean, that is defined, although from the SCWA, but I don't know. You bring up a good point, because one of the areas of discussion that occurred at last year's Joint Committee meeting to try to get an exception defined in the standards was like for fire sprinklers, for instance. There are, you know, a couple of different types of fire sprinklers. You think that that's not used for drinking, but sometimes they're in line with multiple pipes that could be diverted for drinking. So should they have to meet the no lead or not?
Eye washes.
But that,
eye wash stations. Yeah, you're going to drink from.
Exactly. But those lists, the specific list of products is not defined. That's defined under the EPA's list.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Not in the standard.
Was there any discussion in the committee about the lowering of the lead threshold down to 0.25? I know it was higher before.
That was in response to the law that was just implemented in January 2014. But this was that back in 2008 or 2010? I'm sorry, forgive. I'm looking at I'm going to try to find the exact date. It was, knowing that it was coming, it was put into the standard, but with a very long implementation date in anticipation of the law.
Yeah, we did. We were.
It's actually been in the standard. It's been in the standard for several years. But again, and although the standard's not really supposed to, it's really up to the individual certifier company to decide when they're going to implement against the standard. There actually was provisions added to this standard in the annex when it was originally put in to allow for when this, you know what I mean, a 3-year implementation period.
Okay. The source of the lead is largely the joining material, the solder and the flux. I think solder has a fair amount of it, and obviously the Copper Development Association must have had a role in some of this. I'm going to have to jump a little bit ahead to keep things moving here, but it seems plain to me that this is largely driven by the federal government, and they're leaning upon NSF international standards to give them some technical specifics to guide the way, but it's largely driven by the Safe Water Drinking Act. And
right. I mean, it's a way. The standard 61 and 372 are a means of, the procedure for evaluating. And they do. I mean, the minimum criteria is set in standard 61.
Yeah, that's very similar to UL.
I mean, the TAC. Yeah.
Underwriters Labs performs the same service for other types of hazards, consumer products and such. So I get that. So it's very clear this conference call explains where NSF's role is in this, and it's largely federally driven by this, with some of the technical specifics from NSF. Our hope is that because it's easier, at least for us, to work through the continuous maintenance process, what concepts, as Alan knows, I always try to have, I always try to put front forward the possibility that we could put an item on a committee agenda. This is the blank form. We don't always get there, but my ideal is always to come away and close these teleconferences out with an idea that a committee can discuss. We're not there yet on this particular issue. We're largely reacting to all this stuff. And my charge at the moment is just simply, what is the additional costs? We'll have to build this into our first cost equations. And there's also another area here. My colleague Ken Behringer had said that we're probably going to see more pipe breaks because the contractors are saying it's a higher level of skill that's necessary. That when you make a pipe joint, that you've got to have the solder has to leach into the way the metals interface, and so it's likely that if you're making 1 million or 10 million joints like that a year, you're going to see more pipe breaks, and we just have to be ready for that. That will be what I'll call an offsetting cost. So we talked a little bit about this. Here's a question. If you could, Monica, could we have access to anybody in the education and healthcare industry with a vote on the 61 committee? Could we get that?
Yeah, I mean, I can provide. Yes, I absolutely can provide you with the names and affiliations of our committee members, of our voting members.
Okay.
There is not currently a voting member from U of M. I do know that.
Anybody from a university or a hospital?
Let's see. On this particular committee, we have had university members, but I'm actually thinking of another committee. No, mostly our public health regulatory and public agency representatives are from different state departments, public health departments, federal,
what I call enforcement, conformity assessment professionals, I think.
But also, actually, in the U.S. military, we have representatives from the Navy Marine Corps Public Health Center, which they are a user. They are not they are a user.
Well, I wouldn't mind. Could I get those names then also? that would be nice.
Sure.
I won't do it here, but Alan is often flashed on the screen. I don't want to. We are coming. We have about 10 more minutes left. That he would flash on the screen what the proportion of users are. Usually, it's on the order of 10%. And of that 10%, I always like to ask the question: of those users, how many are actually paying for the outcome or the intended consequence or effect of this, meaning that person, the user owner, final fiduciary, the guy who's holding the bag for all these great intentions, he's rarely at these meetings. The people who want to teach out of it, professors, technical instructors, instructors for plumbing, the plumbing trades, they're also called a user. And we don't think that that's, and it's not your fault. Frankly, it's the fault of our industry. We're working on that. One of the reasons we're having ANSI out here is just to explain our cases, and they already know this. So we're going to try to work out something that would help advance the case of the what we'll call user-owner final fiduciary, because the inspectors and the conformity assessment are always nobody in the finance department complains about paying the inspector and his staff. Nobody complains about that. They will complain about somebody who will say, well, maybe there's a bit of overreach by the inspection department. Nobody's paying his salary. So, and it cuts across the entire U.S. economy. So we're getting that fixed slowly but surely. So I guess these other, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, in the case of the Standard 61 committee, this joint committee, the largest percentage of users for this particular committee would be the water utilities, local water utilities. They represent the majority of our users.
Okay.
Are using, so that. But I'd be happy to give you a list of the voting members and their organizations.
Okay.
So I can just send that directly to you.
Sure, sure. I have to tell you though, it's just another piece of data that I use. You know, Alan gave me gave me a readout of, and I'm grateful for it. Is we were putting together a more comprehensive document that explains the proportion of user-owner final fiduciaries, and it's endemic everywhere. And we're trying to get those folks, what I call them code writers and vote getters, funded. So, okay, I guess we have to march through more of this here. So, what kind of proposals and comments are left? I'm seeing that committee is still in motion here. If I'm not mistaken, I think I saw some action here farther down. Maybe I didn't. 55, 60, that's 62 I saw. What, since you're close to the committee, Monica, what are they doing? Where are they in their cycle?
Well, the upcoming annual meeting is coming up on December 4th of this year. So they meet once a year in person, but all year, and at that annual meeting, that's where the majority of the new issue papers are being collected right now. We've solicited for new issue papers for this upcoming annual meeting, but issues go to ballot all year long, and anyone could submit an issue paper at any time throughout the year. It truly is under continuous maintenance. But I can tell you right offhand, I mean, there are a couple of ballots that have just gone through, a couple of issues. As far as other committee work, I don't know if you want to know specific projects. There are quite a few task groups that have been meeting over the course of the year. Mm-hmm. On all kinds of topics. We have a task group on copper tubing. That's a big issue right now to address copper. We have a task group getting back to lead. We have a task group on lead requirements for replacement components, because that's a whole nother, I don't want to say can of worms, but a whole nother issue to consider, especially with the low lead law coming into implementation. So how to address these replacement components. Who is the
committee chairman anyway? Just is there a name? Is that, you're free to give that to me?
Her name is France Lemieux. She is with Health Canada, and she is our current joint committee chair.
Okay, well, if we have people, we're not going to be able to. This is a bit of a fantasy on my part to think we could actually be, but it helps to know the action. As I try to say here, we actually started a LinkedIn group, and I'll let you see it. You'll see that there's only 2 members in it. Let's see, here we go. Yeah, we thought to what degree can we get social media to work with us? And obviously, I have enough work to keep a staff of 50 going. So we're a long way from this, and I have to pick. We have to pick our battles. And this one, though, I would like to get a better sense of what the cost is going to be in terms of additional, what we'll call a regulatory burden. We understand that it's in the interest of public safety. We get that. I'm not arguing about that. I just want to get a number together. And some of what you say helps help at least my understanding to how it got this way, what its origin is, and some clues as to what the effect might be upon our contractors and installers and the people who have to keep our pipes from breaking. So,
I definitely could put you in contact and give you some names of some folks that could definitely speak to this a little better than myself. You know, as far as on the regulatory side and implementation, you know, and the costs associated with that.
Okay, if there's anything out there, that would be great. I'll try to find somebody who can mimic, shadow me a bit on this one, but I don't put it in the top of your list. Put it in the middle to the lower. I think it would probably be more important, and I'm not even really sure. I was going to buy the standard, and I think once I get a champion to deal with it, we will get that standard bought, and we'll try to follow it more closely. But I have to tell you, if I were to look at drinking water safety compared to food safety, and since Alan's on the call, I still think that this is an area here. We've got a lot of kitchens in our industry. in hospitals and residence halls, and I think that if I were to say, if I had to pick between drinking water and food equipment, I'd pick food equipment. So, all right. So I think we're able to, this is what I'll be doing here, just trying to get some technical basis and understanding of how it got to be this way and where it might be going. I've had the good fortune to be able to work with some of the people on the state of Michigan plumbing code, and we'll see how that plays out specifically in Michigan, even though we try to make our reach national. So I did go, and anything else you want to say on this one? I know it's a very large topic. I hope our audience is enlightened by some of the discussion here. This is a horse out of the barn. There was nothing we could do to stop it, but we have to make the most of it, and understanding its effect is, and the contractors have done a good job to let us know what's going on. As always, in the back of our mind, we're thinking, why did it, is this market making, what is the data that informed the OSHA or the EPA requirement? That's too far upstream for us at the moment. There's too many things close to our area of influence that we have to deal with. Maybe in another year. Is there anything else that I might have failed that you wanted to say that I talked over you, Monica?
No, not that I can think of. This has been very good. I'm going to take another look at these questions and see if I can't get some additional answers for you.
Okay. Well, we do have a few more minutes here then, just to go through what's hit the docket here. For our audience, what I've done is I've gone to this week's standards action. Of course, this is usually typically reactive. If we are close to the action with NSF, then typically we already know this stuff. We're usually behind let me see, did I just lose that one? Yeah, here's the weekly standards action that applies to us right now. So all I've done is I've gone through this, and I see that sustainability assessment for water contact products. Oh, wait a minute here. Now this looks, what's this here now? What's 375 all about? And it's a new standard. I always look at those with more care. Can you tell us something about this one, Monica?
Well, I don't work in the sustainability area, so actually I'm afraid that is not my area. But it's a new standard that's looking at basically what it says there. It's looking at sustainability measures for companies that are manufacturing water contact products.
So that would be drinking fountains. If you're going to manufacture a drinking fountain, this is a standard for them to make that drinking fountain sustainable. Is that what I'm seeing?
Correct. And practices, and there's a lot of different factors going into it, but I'm afraid I can't speak to the details of that.
Okay. I guess Mindy sometimes calls in. All right.
Yeah,
so
Mindy, yes.
I don't know. Again, seeing that my estimation is food safety is more important, I believe that we probably will be putting this aside. This always amuses me. Shower filtration systems. This accidentally I got this one on here. I'm surprised about that. Again, it looks like another concept tracking through this particular standard. It's a new one. So let's see what we have. October 26th. More of the same. It's a different number though. This is 375 and this is 42. What's that all about?
42 is a drinking water treatment unit standard for that confirm or verifies claims to for aesthetic effects. So chlorine reduction, taste and odor type claims. It's not a health effects standard.
Okay. All right. So you're into the smell of water.
Yes.
That's not enough. Okay, well, all right, let's see.
It can cause a huge problem for customers.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Biosafety cabinetry. Keith's not on the call right now. And let's see, microbiological water treatment systems. That sounds like something our lab people might be interested in, distillation systems. So that's what's come over the transom over the past week. we don't have enough time to go over these. Obviously, I keep these teleconference notes here. We never have nothing to talk about, it turns out. But as always, I like to get a concept in front of your committees, and I'm struggling with that at the moment. So let's see. So this is me going to try more. We do have a couple people coming online to help us out with that, but it's usually a long, slow process. I'd like to recycle, not recycle, but repurpose some of our most experienced people to this, because I think they're the ones that are able to do it. So I think that looks like a good enough 30-minute update. How does that feel to you, Alan?
It feels good, yeah. I mean, Monica did all the heavy lifting there for sure. So, yeah, there's always, like you said, there's always stuff to talk about, and we usually do. So, there's a number of things in biosafety cabinetry that we didn't go over there. That's going to be published again in December, and we've got currently 13 issues being sorted out through the balloting process. Almost all of them are complete. A couple have not successfully passed and probably won't go in this publication. But so there's a lot going on there. You know, there's related to food equipment. There's, you know, the lead piece. There's a couple of ballots going through. A couple of the lower hanging standards related to food equipment. Mm-hmm. The whole idea of potable water, and I think if you read some of the language that's buried in there, it actually suggests intended for drinking. I'm not the content expert, as you know, Monica said as well. You know, so I don't want to interpret things that way, mm-hmm. But I mean, I think Monica explained all that perfectly, and yeah, there's obviously tons of things we can continue to talk about, but we don't want a 5-hour video either, right?
Right. I actually just got a reminder that I need to get onto another teleconference here at 10. So, okay, food safety and biosafety cabinets still remain upper priorities. This one here will follow. I think I can make a responsible recommendation to our people who are concerned about pipe breaks, for example, and additional costs. I think it's vetted well enough for the moment. And I'd rather see people on. Not that I don't want to see who's on that committee, but I would like to start rolling out, introducing the possibility that we'd be following some of these drinking water standards. So, well, thank you very much for your time, Alan. I guess I will not see. I think hopefully we will see you. We will see you. Will you be there also, Monica?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I will.
Good. All right. So,
all right.
With that, no more closing reflections?
I have none.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
My pleasure. We'll see you. We'll see you in the meet space here on the 10th. That would be MEET.
All right.
Or would that be MEAT or MEAT? I'm not sure what that would be. So we're so used to meeting online. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
All right. Bye now.
Thanks for your time, Steve. It's 11:30 here on Saturday. My hope is that if you're not able to attend this teleconference, that the other people on this planning committee will review what went on yesterday and at the previous teleconferences. So we're still back on the using GoToMeeting because we had difficulties getting the IEEE WebEx going last week. So, and that gentleman was very helpful, but he also asked that we not do it this week because he has family care issues. So I said it was fine with me, but I would like us to get good at that WebEx service because I can't continue 2 meetings a week like this. Not that I don't have the time, but just that I'm what I would call the single point of failure, and if I'm not doing it, it's so anyway. So we'll be able to use the IEEE once we get it rolling, and there were some administrative problems, I think, on their end that I think they have to resolve. So that it wasn't our fault, I think, explicitly. I think it was the IEEE system. So that's kind of it. I'm going to be in Vancouver.
Okay.
We have a website now. Where's our website? Where's our website? We should have it. It is nope. This is my new web. Just to let you know, this is my website at U of M. I have several of them, but let's see. My hope is I can get a website here. So where is our website? Our website should be. Let me go back to. Obviously, you see where I'm still struggling. I want to get the website so it's easy to see. So let's see. Let me put it right up front here. Here we go. All right, this is our website, and I think I invited Mr. Lytle. Got me started. I give him credit. I think David Mills has been the webmaster up to right now. He was using the old style. This is a WordPress template. And you can see the differences in, you basically see the differences in how it's laid out. This is the more modern and contemporary one. So I would really like some backup on this one also. As far as, we can start out just by doing content, but one of the questions I have is, this is a conference-specific website. It's dealing with an event. And my question is, and I'm going to pose it here, shouldn't this conference have a permanent website? Is this okay as a permanent website for all the things that are happening in between the conferences?
You mean this wouldn't be the registration website you're talking about?
This will be
internal to the committee?
This is intended to be the registration website. In fact,
oh, it is. Okay. Yeah, I can't answer that question. I mean, that'd have to be for the IEEE conference committee, wouldn't it? I mean, if they think it's acceptable, I have definitely no issue, but
okay, so
I wouldn't know that though.
Let's get that clear then. I'm going to put that on here. Our new website should be set up to be our new website should be our let me make sure that somebody's not trying to get in. This is the recurring GoToMeeting conference. So our new website, which should be right here, our new website should be our registration website. So that's an important distinction.
That would be something. They have the meeting for. I don't know. They wouldn't have it here though, would they? This is IAS conference.
Well, the one that I'm going to tomorrow is, this is a, let's see if I can get that in a red. It may not let me do red. Okay, so I'll put it in bold. I think it let me put it in bold. It's a template that restricts some of my choices. So, okay, should be our, and I'll just say right. Right. So we will need a link to the place, to the site where registration is normally handled. So I don't know what that is, but I think
yeah, that sounds right. There is usually a link to registration. That's correct. Okay. I guess I can't see a reason why that wouldn't be.
It was for all the others.
Yeah.
If I go over to our past, oh, good, we have somebody else on the line. Excellent.
Moylan just showing up.
Hey, Bill, how are you today?
Doing pretty well.
Yeah. Good morning, Bill.
Good. Oh, morning, Steve.
Yeah.
We were just looking for the link now. Now that we have our own website, which is right here. No, now we need a link. This should be the registration website. And our previous experience has been that when you click a registration link, that that it takes you to another place that the IEEE sets up, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Usually.
Yeah. So
I'm not sure if it's the IEEE sets it up or the local committee has set it up.
okay. Well, the local committee, which is us, that we have to, our experience, and I'm trying to go back to the previous, I'm going to go to our previous sites for the previous for the previous conferences, and if we go to, say, Fort Worth, for example, there was a site. Where's the Fort Worth link? It took you to a place where there's a tab that says register. It just says register, and then let's go to Stone Mountain. Is it still there? Let me go back to our site here. So that's our question, is that how do we get that set? To whom do we go to get that set up? Who at IEEE helps us get people to pay?
Okay, well, had you know, Jim's on his way to Vancouver. I assume he could some of the questions he could ask.
Okay.
He told me when he and I had discussions yesterday on the phone.
Hey,
When
okay. I was just going to say, but what committee meeting would be best addressed to? Is that the future conference committee, or is that?
You mean address this with?
Well, to ask this question, I mean, I know there's a committee that deals with conferences. I guess the future committee meeting, right? I can't remember the official name of it. Because there's got to be a name to the contact on this web stuff.
Well, we know that David Mills was doing the website in the past, and he wasn't able to help. And then Linda, then it was Scott Lytle for the Southeastern Michigan, who got me in touch with the people at IEEE who could help me set up our website. So it is an official website because of the URL, among other reasons. So
okay, so I guess we're good then.
okay, so you can see me writing this email. So we have an official IEEE website now, website, and it's right here. So how do we get registration? To whom do we speak? Who do we work with to get the? Who do we work with to get the link to the registration process?
You know, if you get this set up early enough, you're going to be able to get, what will happen is people signing in for the 2015 are going to end up registering for ours instead.
Oh, no, well, at the rate we're going, it just strikes me that we won't run into danger with that. So I think what you're saying is don't go too fast, but that doesn't mean we're not going to be bumping up, at least in my estimation. You know, I could be wrong, that we'll have to guard for that. How about that? How about guard for that? So if we go over that, you raise a good point, because if we go to the Vancouver, here's a Calgary conference, and so if we go there, here's a registration page right here.
Right.
Okay, so there's two parts of the registration process. So methods. So please check back early for links. Okay, so this is the part here that we have to get going here. So all I'm trying to do, Bill, is to find out what the key dates are. It looks to me like for the conference in 2015 that there's roughly a month. They give you an incentive here to
Mm-hmm.
register early. So this is
Sounds about right. Yep.
yeah, and so this might be an important link to get. So what they're driving at here is that now please check early 2015 for links to the conference. So they'll probably get that fired up. They'll probably get that fired up, say just after the year, obviously. So, but this is the thing that we need next, at least to know what that. And I'm not trying to put it up there, Bill. I just want to know when it has to happen. So we know it could start to happen as early as it could happen as early as just after the Calgary conference, but that's probably a little bit too early. I just want to know
Mm-hmm.
ahead of time when that'll be necessary. That's all. That's all I'm asking for here. So
What what has been set up,
well,
and that's so, okay.
yeah. So what are able? So you can see that we have a site, and as I mentioned to everybody, that once we have a site, I can start looking for sponsors. I know that you'll have your sponsors, but I'm also going to be approaching other colleges and universities to get for the Education and Healthcare Committee. This gives them, Steve, we might need for you to be muted. Is that possible?
Yeah, I can do that. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah. I love the sound of families during Saturday mornings. It's a very, very cozy American sound. So in any case, I have some of that of my own, but I just shut the door. Any case, so this just helps me find sponsors, Bill. That's why I'm working what appears to be so much ahead. It's that I know we might have an additional economic burden, and that depends upon us being successful in getting this committee rolling.
Well, what I'm trying to get wedged in here is that when Jim arrives in Vancouver and has a chance to meet up with Dilip Molla, the three of us are to get together on a conference call, and we're going to go through that contract that Jim has taken with him, and that one of the things that can happen then is that I will ask Dilip, the questions you're looking for answers to.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll be there with them also.
Okay.
So at the moment, before you got here, Bill, I said that I needed IEEE to help a little bit more with the conference calling, and this, as you know, last week I believe it was that it didn't work. There were some administrative problems, I think, on their end, so we fixed it. But unfortunately, our colleague who helped me last week get it set up, or at least get us set up farther, he wasn't able to make it this weekend, and I'm really going to be maxed out next weekend. I don't know if I told you guys, but we've got I'm host to the work I've been doing in standards, but I've got the chairman and CEO of the American National Standards Institute as my guest at the University of Michigan, and we're hosting a number of other people around in these different schools. We're trying to explain to them standards, and I've had some success doing this. I have a website here that kind of explains what we've been doing over the years, and so we're getting a bit of a pat on the back here, and he's going to help us out. So this is my excuse for not being able to do much for the next 2 weeks. But I believe also that I have to present on Monday, this coming Monday, and I wasn't aware that I had to put together a PowerPoint. So that's what I'm doing today, to explain, to put a little bit more flesh on what Jim wrote up here for this Educational Healthcare Committee, and so that's what I'll be doing with Jim largely, and of course there's all the other stuff. So I'm I'm getting maxed out here, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So there was some follow-up. So do we want to continue having Friday teleconferences?
I'm having trouble getting, back here from my duties that I have Friday mornings.
Oh, Saturday's
For that
better?
time.
Well, it seems some people are able to come on
Yeah,
Friday. I don't mind doing Friday and Saturday. It's just I need some backup. That's why we're trying to get the IEEE WebEx so Steve and anybody else can use it and do a teleconference. And actually, what IEEE wants to see is that there will be a recurring. They can set up a recurring teleconference, but an ad hoc one that you feel that you need, they struggle a little bit more. They want a little bit more planning. So in that sense, in the long run, my GoToMeeting function is available there for the use of anybody on an ad hoc meeting. But the regular meetings, which to me, it still seems like there's a lot getting done. We've had, but it's just me. Again, Bill, I'm just focusing on making sure that we're going to have enough of a program for 2015 on this Education and Healthcare Committee. And I think by this time we'll be fully able to roll it out. And because it's local, I can really put my shoulder into getting sponsors and more attendees from Detroit and Windsor, Detroit and Canada.
Yeah, Mike, I guess it'd be nice to have it once a week. And
I think it's just that I want, if we can try again, I'm not going to be able to work with IEEE next Friday or next Saturday because I've got to be a host. I've got to take this guy to the football game and all that stuff. But
right.
I think the next meeting would be, we'll skip a week if you want to start again on the 17th and 18th, then maybe that's what's necessary. But if people aren't able to do anything here, then we can wait till here. And there might be some merit to that because, frankly, this week here is one of the busiest week of my life.
Mm-hmm. I personally think that's fine. I don't think it's going to hurt us to skip a week.
Okay, so then
I mean, the biggest thing was getting the hotel arrangements made, right? And
well,
after that, it's the...
They don't have a signed contract yet. That's the problem, is that we've got a 30-day clock that started ticking 2 weeks ago, which means now we're looking at less than 2 weeks.
We have until the end of this month.
Oh, okay, good. All right, so that's helpful.
I don't know, do you think it's critical that we meet this coming week for that reason, or?
Well, it's actually Jim and Bill, I think have got that. They can do it at their own time, but just to sort of the coordination type meetings where we all have a chance to talk. Maybe if it's okay with you, Bill, we'll just assume you and Jim. That's the biggest part of all this. Before we get sponsors, of course, we have to have our location. So it just strikes me that the ball could be largely in Jim and Bill's court, and then we can meet again. We can meet again on the 17th and 18th.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that one of the main decisions of any meeting is when you meet again, right? So we'll get that on here. Bill, also, I'll put that in here. So next meeting, October 17th. Next meeting, that'd be meeting 13 and 13 and a half. The 17th will be October 17th and 18. Oops, 17 and 18. Okay. All right. So at that point, then, so what in between that time, I obviously I've got a lot to do with this committee, but getting us set up so that, gee, where's our? I've lost our I've lost our site. Here we go. Getting the other details on this so that now this becomes a tool for getting sponsors. That would be the next step, at least for as far as what I'd hope that I could do. And on this let's see, I'm losing myself on all of our links here. On our I'm going to have to go fetch it up again. Sorry guys, I lost the link. If we go to here again, getting papers pulled together. Oh, that's one other thing, Bill. I talked to Wai Zhen yesterday, and he said it's not absolutely necessary that everything be a paper. A poster presentation would be possible. A lot of guys who are very knowledgeable, and I'm guessing some people like, for example, this guy here, he may not be an IEEE paper writer type, but he knows his business, he knows the numbers, and doing a poster presentation or even just a regular presentation, it's allowable from Wai Zhen's standpoint. Now, whether or not this is allowable from Peter Sutherland's point of view, I put this list together for Peter because he says no papers, no conference. And so I went to work making these nearly 28 idea papers. So I'm out there trying to get people to write them, and I'll write a couple myself. So that's where I've been focusing, getting the content together, and some of that might even be governed by the sponsors. Maybe sponsors want to prepare papers or even posters. So in any case, I thought that's covered. Wai Zhen, a fuller discussion on that, Bill, is in the link. Again, anything that I said to what got said, Bill, by Wai Zhen and I yesterday on that issue is here available for your listening pleasure. It was just a 20-minute call, so. Anything else?
Well, I have a question for Steve.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Okay. Had you gotten my email about a week ago that said, I would like to see if I can get a commitment from ETAP.
Yeah, I did see that, Bill. Yeah.
To put on something like that. Do you think, what's going on at GM right now? Is it likely
well,
that,
you know what?
You could bring plant people in to, if we put on a working, some kind of a workshop or something like that?
Yeah, I talked to Bill Harris about that, and he's thinking that because, we have ETAP internal, if you know, Bill, the issue is we got 1 or 2 seats, and the only guy that might be, that's been involved in it, that would probably really want to go is Tim Hoxie from Lansing Delta Township and Lansing Grand River. He's an FME there. Personally, I would like to go because I don't know much about it. I think Wayne would probably want to go. The way we can get the okay from our boss or not is another question, but I would think we would. But I guess the number would be rather limited because, we don't have a lot of seats in-house and people are busy.
Okay.
So I can't guarantee a lot. We have, as you know, we require all our studies to be done in ETAP, so our AE partners all have ETAP.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they would be sending people or not. I can't say that, but I'm guessing that some of them would. Depends how much, I guess, is covered, too.
Are your plants all up to date right now on anything and everything, like the arc flashes and everything, to where you do not, or do you have any ongoing contracts yet for people like Orion and others who are, doing programs for you? I guess I'm wondering, like, we could get Orion or something like that to send 1 or 2 of their engineers to, to get refreshers or something.
Yeah.
But are there more than Orion, locally here?
It's, Orion, Solaris, I think is approved. There's like 6 or 7 approved. In terms of how many, we got a lot of active projects right now that each require updates on their short circuit coordination studies.
Okay.
In terms of all the plants, most of them, except for ones in Mexico, have ETAP models. We did Toluca last year, so that's an ETAP now, but Ramos and SLP, I think still need to have theirs done in ETAP. So there's a mix of things, but the vast majority do have ETAP now, at least in the North America region.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I could give you a clearer answer, and I did also.
Well, no, that gives me some ideas. You know, I had, until we started the discussion, I hadn't thought about tapping Ryan and or Solaris, but both of them are people who, you know, are valid ones to send peoples to this meeting.
Yeah, I'm thinking that there would be a fair amount of interest. I know that on our AE partner side, that Giffords has, or IBI has ETAP, Ghaffari has ETAP, SSOE.
Mm-hmm.
I think SSOE has ETAP.
No.
I know at least IBI and Ghaffari for sure have it.
Okay.
So they're both local.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
so I would think that go ahead.
Previous times, you know, when we had the Detroit thing, we put on a tutorial on Thursday that helps us with the room count. You know, by having people on, more people Wednesday night. So the theme could be that we have something like that. Would be we do arc flash, you know, analysis or something like that for 4 people. You know, so I will bring that up with the fellows tomorrow or whenever I hear from Jim and Delete and yourself, Mike.
Yeah, and the other thing too, Bill, I did send an email to my boss on the 20th of September, asking him about the GMs, you know, offer some rooms during a conference, and I haven't heard back. I'm going to have to, you know, nudge him a little bit. It sounds like I just looked at my email and I didn't see anything back from him on that issue. So I think it's a possibility, but I don't know. The security and stuff like that would be the only issue. So I'd have to have to find out. But
okay, yeah. So I've got all of the questions I need answered for the day here today, and I think that's what you were trying to get. That's an answer to your last question, Mike.
Tutorials. So in the past, is it ETAP is the one? Are there any other organizations that would give tutorials?
Well, there's a, you know, a lot of times the protection committee will provide, like at this conference in Vancouver, Rashid is going to be doing a tutorial, I believe.
Or maybe we could get the safety workshops people to do something on Thursday.
That's always of major interest. And, you know, for a safety workshop, I could probably get more GM people to it because safety's been a driving, you know, driving issue, and the guys at the plants always are looking for training and support for such things. So that's a good idea. Though I think I could get a lot of GM people on that. And, you know, Ford has a lot of plants here too.
And I could charge up people at Detroit Edison with that same issue too, to where they would bring industrial customers in.
Yeah, I think that's a real good one, Bill.
Okay, so I just added, this is our planning website, by the way. It's not the one that, it's not the customer-facing one, it's not this one. But at some point, when things get firm about who would be giving part. I just made a few notes here, and obviously this is recorded, so others who are interested in seeing what went back and forth. I couldn't keep up with you guys with my typing, and I think typing sometimes shows up in the video recording anyway and annoys people. So if there's more information about that, it then helps. Again, it supports the marketing tool that we need. That we need to put on this here. So at some point, right, I'd like to start. For example, ideally, we would just start. I would have tutorials here, and we start having a schedule. Now, that's another thing we have to talk about. What you're seeing here is I just took the last conference and I used the time slots as a template. My hope is that somebody else can start helping at least deal with the more of the specifics of what's going on in the time slot. So I don't know who put this together, but it'd be nice to have that person do it again for us. It looks like, so these are all the committee and working group schedules. So it looks like those go on the first 2 days or so.
Yes, the local committee does that. So you got the framework, and we just have to, when the time comes, coordinate with the different committees. Try to make sure we don't have a lot of conflicts between, things where major players are involved. You know what I mean?
Okay. So we'll be ready to, after the Calgary conference, I'm thinking we'll be ready to launch on this. Again, I'm mindful that there's 5 months away. At least in my universe, 5 months is not very long. Yeah. Given how slow we move. Anyway, so here's the technical paper, but I think it's, again, getting back to the marketing, the long lead time item for me is the papers. I believe paper writers need a year to year and a half to pull it together. That's why as soon as we can get information about when it's going to happen. Oh, there's another thing too. I did talk to Giuseppe about piping in some of his students from the University of Rome. So I just thought, I have a separate thing going on with Giuseppe about how at the very least, U of M could work a little more closely with the University of Rome. So,
so he's definitely. So is he? Well, I assume he is now aware that 16 will not be in Rome.
Right. He knows that. But I said, well, what?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so what does it cost to do a 2017 in Rome? What does that mean? It's probably another $1,000 on a plane ticket. The hotels in Italy in general are very cheap for extremely good so anything, it would be a 5-star, you can get a very good hotel for $75, no more than $100. So you save money there. It's just the plane trip. It's the passport issue. All that stuff that you have to deal with. So we know that not everybody would be able to do something. Well, what does it really cost? So I said I'd help them out to see what that would cost. And whether it happens there or not, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I do know that my work here with the business school at U of M has made, and I'll be working with people globally. When we put our conference together, we're going to have people coming from all over the world, but we'll also be broadcasting to other parts of the world, and that'll bring the multinationals in because they're interested in the talent in the market. So that's a larger, different discussion. So I guess I'd visualize. I don't see any reversal. As surely as you and I, the three of us, are talking here today, I spend no fewer than 4 hours per day dealing with people out of my time zone, and we're getting a lot of good work done. So that's just the way the world is speeding toward us. So,
right. I would say my experience is about the same.
Yeah.
I don't know, 4 hours a day, but at least every day dealing with somebody out of the time zone.
Yeah. So this tutorial thing is an important marketing thing. So at the moment, guys, frankly, I have to focus on getting this E&H committee together, and my expectation is that we will be able to launch a little bit better during the Calgary meeting for the ICPS, but that we fully roll it out. We fully roll it out at our at this one here, because it's just I have the relationships locally.
Yeah. Yep. Sounds good.
Okay, then. So there'll be a lot of fallout from the meetings next week. And I guess then we'll meet formally again here on October 17th. We'll all meet here, and we'll have all kinds of stuff to tell, I suppose.
Yep.
Yeah?
Sounds good. All right. Well, I guess we're done for today then, Mike.
It's up to Bill. Any more you want us to?
I'm happy. I'm complete.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll put this up on the internet
Okay.
here in the next couple of minutes. Take care. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.